Okay, so today we're gonna look at this exam. my apologies that it's in Hebrew, but there was an exam in English for this version of the course.
It's a new version of the course because
What?
I did previous exam, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah, it's a different version of the course.
So like what we shouldn't
It's
say.
the same. The old exams are similar, I think, but they're. Yeah, but they're not, there's some of the material is the same, some is not. Every year they change the course, every year the course changes. But the English one didn't change as quickly as this one. Now, this year I made the English one and the Hebrew one the same. They usually were in the past similar, let's say 65% the same. But now they're 100% the same. So the exams from the past should have some material that is possible, but not all. Okay. So here we have a DFD. Before we continue, right, you see that? We learned DFDs. How many complex processes are there? Nobody knows? No? Don't know what a complex process is? No? You went over the slides, Karen, you should know. This is before 10. You don't know? So there are complex process, you don't know? No. Hannah?
I guess one.
No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whenever you see a double circle, that's a complex process. You know what a complex process is? No, so you guys don't know DFDs.
I forgot to review that.
You forgot to review that. Well, we'll see what else you forgot to review. DFDs are, this means a complex process means there will be an explanation of it later. How many databases are there? Hard to read here. Yeah, this is a good question. How many databases are there? I'm not upset. See, that's such a simple question. Doesn't require any knowledge. You don't know?
I was gonna say 4, but it looks like they're all D1, so 1.
Yes. Oh, there you go. 1. Using logic. Whenever there's a slash, that means it's a repeat. So there's only one database. Okay. And these E1s are external entities. They're all E1. So how many external entities are there?
1.
Just one. It's kind of a weird DFD. Usually you have different ones. What is this triangle with a T in it? What does T stand for? What would you guess? If you didn't take this course. What?
Red.
What? Thread? That's a good guess. That's a good guess. But it's not. It's time. Okay, you guys have some studying to do. Test is right away. It's not at the end of the exam period. It's at the beginning of the exam period. Okay, here's another DFD. Why is this one called DFD1 and this one called DFD0? What's the relationship between them? I'm not convinced that you guys have been following the slides or lectures. You must have skipped the entire DFD thing. This is a rather basic question.
Yeah, I did skip. Well, they're using the same databases and entity also.
Now, DFD1 means that it's explaining what's happening in this circle. This is a complex process. We have to explain it. We explain it over here.
And DFD0 is the general one?
Exactly. DFD0 is the topmost one.
So what you have a DFD for each?
There'll be a DFD2 for this one, DFD3 for this one, DFD4 for this one, DFD5 for this one. There won't be a DFD6 or 7 because these are simple processes. We can call them, there's multiple names for them. These are all simple processes. You can also call them, well, there are other names for them. What the other names? Simple is the best. This is, yeah, okay. More DFDs up 2.3. This particular exam has a lot of DFD information. Yeah, that's the other thing, by the way. Well, in my opinion, just theoretically, if you have an exam on a test, on a material, it could cover 60% of the material. And it would be a legitimate test. There's no requirement, in my opinion, although the school I think does a bit different from me, but in my opinion, there's no requirement to cover every single topic that was discussed. You could choose, you could do a Moed Aleph, discuss A, B, and C, and Moed Bet, do C, D, and E. And that's part of this, as I can test you if you know it by, it's like a random test. I'll randomly ask you 3 questions on 3 things, and that'll give me an idea of whether you know the material. It could be by mishap, I could happen to pull out the 3 things you didn't know. But but that's legitimate. But we don't, in general, the test is 20 questions and all multiple choice and on a variety of topics. And then, in my opinion, to put it this way, it's way easier than, well, actually, I don't know. It's very easy. In my opinion, it's pretty easy. There are a few, I would say half the questions are super easy and half the questions are not super easy.
What's not super easy part?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're hard or
Maybe.
they're not super easy. I don't know. They're whatever. Some of them are hard, some of them are not so hard. I would say half the test is.
How would you suggest studying to change the course, like we used previous exams?
No, the way I taught it, this is the way it's
Okay, so like the slides.
study from the material that I taught. That's the way you should always study for a class. Okay. Sheila. What is a incorrect claim among the claims that follow regarding the model called the spiral model? We learned something called the spiral model. So what is a incorrect claim? So let's start from the bottom. At each turn, we build a new prototype. Do you guys remember the spiral? You do? That's very good. You're gonna explain it to me?
I can say it very basically.
Yeah, it's a spiral, that's what the word spiral means.
Oh wait, it's divided in 4 quadrants.
Oh, yeah. 4 quadrants,
No?
yeah.
And for each phase, before going through each phase, you.
Let's look at it, here, let's set it faster if I just look it up in Google than if I try to find the slide where it is. Spiral
Yeah. Planning with the.
design model for software, let's see. Here's that nice picture. Geeks for Geeks, very good site. Most important, this is important apparently. The spiral model is a combination of the waterfall model and the iterative model. There's some waterfall elements and there's some, but waterfall has no iterations. So it's like waterfall and then waterfall again, and then waterfall again. The exact number of phases can vary. Okay, we need a picture. We want the picture here. Objectives. So I guess you start here. I guess you go like that. So you start here. Objectives, determination, and identify alternative solutions. Identify and resolve risks. Develop next version of the product. So here's the actual work. Always in the 3rd quadrant. And the last quadrant, review and plan for the next phase. And then again, objectives and fine. That's the basic picture. The rest I'm not going to read you all this. But prototyping, I hear the prototyping model. Wait. Okay, whatever. I would suggest you read that, yeah. But looks like a good article about it. It's well known. A friend of mine. I once had a friend of mine come under when we were in Zoom in the years of COVID. I had a friend of mine who works many years in programming in the Army, really, came in and gave us a lecture. And he wanted to talk about Spiral. Apparently, they're using it. All right, so let's go back to the question. Where's the question? Huh. So the kol sevet bonim av tipus. We didn't see that, but yes, there's an av tipus, the prototype. Hamodel מבוסס על המודל מפל המים. Yeah, we just saw that. המודל מתייחס לניתוח סיכונים. It relates to this and analyzing risks. We saw that as a whole risk section, yes. The model is advised for projects that their drishot, that their requirements are clear and defined from the beginning. Well, that's obviously wrong, right? I mean, the whole idea of spiral is that we keep reassessing. If it would be everything was known at the beginning, that would be waterfall. The whole point of the spiral is that we don't know, we have to reassess all the time. So that's for sure not right. Like if I would be taking, if you would be taking the test, you might be unsure about Dalet and Aleph, but this one's for sure, Aleph is for sure wrong. So that's what you always pick the one that you're for sure about. In this exam, of course, the answers are always Aleph. This is a zero, Topos F, it's a zero exam. All right, now question 2. For what, when should you use mapal hamayim, the waterfall? We'll start at the bottom. Complicated projects. So this is already debatable.
What does complicated mean?
Yeah, exactly. What does complicated mean? I mean, you do use mapal for complicated projects, but in the slide it specifically says not used for complicated. There's actually a slide that says that. And I didn't agree with it actually. I didn't like that slide, but that's the slide, and that's the information you have to know. So yeah, it says specifically these words. That is, the words are taken from the slide. So whatever complicated meant in the slides is what it means here. But if it's too complicated, it could be hard. I think what they mean to say complicated. I think what they mean to say by complicated is that it's complicated and therefore I don't know how I'm going to do it. The mapal hamayim, what's the key feature of mapal hamayim, of waterfall? What's the key feature of waterfall? What? That you evaluate?
Like that you're always reevaluating.
No, that's spiral.
You finish.
Oh,
the phase,
waterfall,
you
no,
go to-
sorry.
What?
You finish the phase and then you go, like,
It's very strict. And therefore what?
so you can't, like, once you finish a phase, then you can't go back to.
Exactly, you don't go back to redesigning it. So you have to know the design even before you start programming. And you don't change the design once you start programming.
That's what.
So if it's very complex, then it might be impossible to know how you're gonna do it before you do it. I think that's the idea of what they wrote there, but I don't agree with it, because that's why the design phase could take a year or two, because it's complex. So it is good for complex, but this is wrong. I'm just saying, it's wrong by definition, because the slides say that. I would disagree with it, but it is a system designed for object-oriented programming. Not really, but it's also a stupid statement, because it could be done. There's no reason. Object-oriented, in my understanding of things, object-oriented can be done. Any project can be done with object-oriented. Any project can be done not with object-oriented. It's not determinate.
But in the beginning of the exam this year, we are asked the same question.
But it says that in one of the slides. It does say that, unless I deleted it. Unless I deleted it in English, but I don't think I did. I might have actually. That particular point, I might have deleted because I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, but if it's in the exam.
But in the exam, well, the chances that you get this exact question on the exam are more or less zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't repeat questions in general. Especially not ones that we publish on the website, although we should, just to be nice, but. My brother does that. My brother teaches at Bar Ilan, philosophy, or he teaches Greek, ancient Greek, in the classics department. And I think he told me that he sometimes does, he asks the same question. You know, if you have 4 questions, you can ask one of them from previous year.
Dat mag niet zijn.
What?
Zet de stijl mag gewoon.
Well, you gotta remember, his department has 4 people in it, you know, 4 students.
Yeah.
So they don't want them to quit. Then they have nobody to teach. So they can't make the exams too hard. You teach Greek. It's self-serving. You don't do much with it. Although I think that like, you know who has a degree in Greek? Boris Johnson, who was the Prime Minister of England and the Mayor of London. He did that. You know, that was his, and then he did Greek and political science or something. Or maybe he didn't do political science, just in Greek. Or classics. He actually, I heard him speaking in ancient Greek. Nobody speaks in ancient Greek. Modern Greeks speak a totally different language. But he was like quoting Homer's The Odyssey, you know, in Greek in an interview. You know, no, he doesn't. I mean, nobody speaks. I mean, unless you decided to learn speech from one of the great Greek works, so then you could know it. But nobody speaks ancient Greek. That's not. But you could, if you know the language, you could. They're not even 100% sure how it sounded. In other words, they know the letters, but they don't exactly know the vowels. Right? So they don't even know how it's pronounced. So it's kind of a joke to speak Greek because you're just guessing. I was once in a class at Hebrew University in Aristotle, and the professor was reading to us from it in Greek. He read to us, he read the Greek, he was reading the Greek and he was trying to pronounce it, you know. And it was kind of funny, but it was just doing it otherwise. But anyway, my brother knows Greek, but he doesn't really speak it. It's like, you know, it's like Latin. Nobody really speaks Latin except for the Catholic priests. They don't speak it, they maybe give a speech, maybe. Even the, you know, the Pope, when he speaks in Italian. He doesn't speak in Latin. He should speak in Latin. Anyway, so answers don't really repeat, but it could be. Anyway, you should know this. This is part of your preparation for the exam, is to know this. And here, even if I removed it from the slides, it's now you're seeing it that Mapalamayim is considered not good for object-oriented, and not good for things that are complicated, and not good. Oh wait, matim. So these are all not matim. These are all false. Kasher meirut apitua chashuva. If you want to do things fast, should you do waterfall? No, that's pretty clear. But what is true? It's good for developing small systems that are supported by structural procedures that are very well defined. Well, it is defining a structural procedure very well. That's what it does, but I don't know. Whatever, that's the answer. I don't even know what that means. Procedures that are very well defined. I don't know. A little bit. But here it says small. That's definitely written there. Tanot. Whatever, clear. The point is, it has to be a tchum that's well known. That's not really true because I think of waterfall as fly too fast. Okay, next question. DFD. Above we saw some DFD diagrams. Assume that DFD 0 is correct. The number of mistakes that are in each of the 4 diagrams is how many? How many mistakes are there in the diagrams? 4, 2, 3, 4, or 0? So we didn't see any mistakes, so let's go look at it. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, so this one's correct. And what do we notice? It looks to me like there's only E1. Am I correct? I can't, it's a little bit fuzzy. But right, it looks like they're all the same, E1, D1, and then there's these 7. Okay, let's see if we can find a mistake. Wait, the answer, according to this, he told me actually on the phone just now that there are 2 correct answers. He told me that they accepted in the end, not just 2, but something else, I'll say, maybe 4, I think. Let's see. But there's certainly some mistakes, okay? So the first mistake I would look for is there an E that's not 1? Because if the top one had only E1, then all of these have to have E1. And these are all E1. All right, that looks good. T2 was at T3, that's a mistake. The T has to be outside of the box. That's a mistake, kind of dumb mistake, but whatever. 5. Is this a mistake that you have D5? Oh, wait a second, look here. Wait, what is this? This is D5? And this is D5, right? And this is D1. What is there? D2? Here's D3. D1, is there a D2 and a 4? No. I don't know if that's a mistake. You could claim that's a mistake. Why would you have D5 if you don't have D2 and 3? That's kind of, you could choose to call it. I mean, it's a semi-mistake. I don't know if that's really a mistake.
And for 2D5, just 1 mistake or 2 mistakes?
Wait a second. So first of all, I'm pointing out that the fact that it's D5 is kind of weird because you should skip numbers because there was no D4. But maybe, I'm not sure if that's official rule. I don't remember if that's official rule. The numbers, it does say the numbers are sequential. But sequential the word doesn't necessarily mean that there's no gaps. No, I can say it's the sequential odd numbers. Right? They're still sequential. There's a sequence. I don't think it means, I don't know, it's debate, it's all philosophy of language here. I don't know if we're semantics. But anyway, it is kind of weird, certainly not right, really. I don't know if it's a mistake, but let's say like this. I think that's part of the reason why some people said 2 and some people said 4 mistake. Anyway, this is a mistake, 1. It is also a mistake. No, the fact that we have D5 and D5 is not a mistake. But the fact that we have D5 over here and it's being used, well, first of all, in D4, we shouldn't have D5 here. If D5 is going to be referred to, this is totally wrong. We're very wrong in many ways. This can't be D5. It can't be a 5 here. This has to be a 4. Unless if it's a D5, it has to be outside the system. And then it's communicating with somebody in the system. But it can't be just communicating with a database, it has to be communicating with another process, and it's not. So this shouldn't even be here at all. This should be in 5. This is part of 5. 5 is in fact complex, so that's good. But there is no D5 here. It should have been a D5, and this guy should be in. So that's a mistake. This has to be outside, and I don't know if they count that as 2 mistakes or 1 mistake, because it should be outside and it should be communicating with another one of these guys. Circle. Also, there's another problem, which is that the fact that there's D5 over here, and he's talking to 5, and he's also talking to 4, means that I should see him in D0. I should see that 5 and 4 are both talking to D5. It should be over here. You can say, well, so here's my question to you. Are all databases supposed to be in D0? Or not? I discussed this in the lecture. You guys weren't there. So the answer is no, they don't all have to be there. What's the rule? The rule is if 2 different, like this is actually a mistake. Well, once he's here, we can put him again. But if 2 different processes talk to the same database, then we need to see it in the data in this diagram. So if D4 and D, so there could be that D5 talks to a database, but nobody else talks to that database. Then I wouldn't see it here. It's only if somebody else talks to it, D5 and D4 talk to.
Like the database for
What?
the database for. Yeah, this one, we could not see.
Where's 4? Where?
No, on G0.
Remember, in the D0, they're all
On line
D1.
4, the database is not, it's just checking with 4.
No, because it's the same one as this one. These are repeat. This is just the same one. D1, D1,
So you want
D1.
to show the repeat?
Yeah. In other words, once we put them in, because D2 is talking to him, D3 is talking to him, D4 is talking to him, D5, almost everyone's talking to him. So he gotta be there. And once he's there, we show all the people who are talking to him.
You have another one.
But for example, let's see, here's D1. Is there another? D3, that's not a mistake.
It's checking to
Because D3 is completely internal to 3. So that's not a mistake. Any other mistakes here? No, well, this is technically whatever. Alright, we're not counting that as a mistake. When you have an arrow going both directions, you're supposed to say what is being written. A special rule about, look it up in your slides, there's a special rule about a 2-directional arrow. I think it requires explanation of what it's doing. Usually on a DFD, you write on the line what is being written, but in the test, he didn't feel like doing that, but it's supposed to be there. Okay, I don't know if that counts as a mistake. So we found a bunch of mistakes over here.
So how do you know if it does count as a mistake or not?
Well, because he said that DFD1 DFD0 is not having mistakes, and here's a double line you'd write on it. So that can't be a mistake. He gave to us that DFD0 has no mistakes. So this is not a mistake, so therefore he's expecting that. And the fact that all the lines on the anything written on them means that that's not a mistake.
Then you can have only T1 on the D0 and T2, T3 on the DFD.
Well, let's say again, T,
T here, it's only T1, but you can
where's
have.
T? Oh, T, oh, that's a mistake, you're right. He has to have a number.
Right.
Yeah, this is a stupid question, whatever, he on the phone just now, when I told him I'm gonna go over it, he said, just beware that the whole DFD is all screwed up. That the DFD question is written by somebody who didn't do a good job. That's what he said.
So,
Is there anything else? Because we're
learn
starting from
something else.
Yeah, well, I'm still teaching you, there might be a question on DFD, I'm still teaching you, I'm showing you the problems.
Right.
Whether they're gonna, I'm showing you the problems, this is a mistake. T0, you can't have a T without a number. You have to have a T with a number, that's for sure a mistake. Whether you write on a line, in general on the test, they're not gonna write data flows on the line, they're just gonna show you a diagram. This is just general, we're not saying what's going on here. We're not saying like what's happening, so what are we gonna write here? Credit card information? We can't really write credit card information, because who says this, we don't even know what this diagram is doing. Okay, well, but I think we got the basic idea, you saw some of the mistakes that you could look for. All right, 4. Here is, given in front of you is a use case diagram according to UML rules. So here you see we have actor A, B, and GH. And you have, this is some kind of use case, and this is a use case. What does this line mean?
D2 inherits.
Right, D2 inherits from C2. So can B2 access C2? Let's look at the slides. Let's look at the basic. Lecture slides in English. Did I write? Here, good thing I wrote use case diagrams. The meaning of inheritance, son will able to be linked to any use case that the father is linked to. So Oved, anything that Oved can do, the worker can do, then also teller and operator and whatever these other secretary, they all can do whatever this one can do. So the children can do what the parent can do, but the parent can't do what the children can do. So that's important. So if we go back to here. So, for example, B2 is the son, he can do C2. He can do C2.
How you see B2 is the sun?
What?
How you see that B2 is the sun?
Oh, right, we were talking, we don't here, we see that this case is this. You're right, maybe it's slightly different, let's see, this is talking about inheritance of children. What about his kind of inheritance? The successor use case is a type of the use case from which it inherited. And when the player has a link to the parent, he can also access the children. So it's the opposite. It's actually the opposite. You hear that? When the player or the actor, player means actor, the actor has a link to the parent, he has access to all the children. So it's the opposite. So let's go back. And that means if I have access to the parent,
But he doesn't.
A2 can have access to the parent, so he can do the child.
Yeah, but B2 can do the parents.
But B2 can't do the parent. Kind of makes sense. I have access to this. I can do, in other words, I can do this thing, which is a subcategory of this one. That means I can't do that, but I can't do the main one. But if I can do the main one, then I can do all the subcategories. I can, it's a little bit backwards. It's a little bit backwards from the inheritance of these guys, of the players. What do we say by the players, right? Because I'm trying to think, is there any sense to that? But by the players, we said the son will be able to be linked to any use case the father can do. Well, that makes sense by that's like inheritance of you learned in C++ or C#, because if you have a poodle, then he can bark. He can do whatever a dog can do. Right? Poodle can do whatever a dog can do. But dog can't do whatever poodle can do. But over here, it's the other way around. When the player has a link to the parent, he immediately gets all the children, the bottom ones. But the reverse must not be true. If you have a link to the bottom one, then you don't link to all the top ones, because then why would you then make the link to the top? If you mean to say. Yeah, what about the reverse? It's an interesting question. Okay, so let's see if this is all relevant. Eze mikre shimush, which use case can be done by B2? So what did we just say? This is exactly a question, B2 can only do. What he. When it leads to the parent, he can do the children, but we didn't say in the reverse. So if you have the child. You can't do the parent, so. So just D2, that's the answer. But you might have thought, no, he can do everything. But actually, if he can do C2, then he can do everything, right? So actually, none of the answers possibly make sense. I mean, this is a stupid question. Because even if you don't know anything, I mean, whatever, even if you're unsure about how inheritance works, it's clear that B2 can do D2. And if he could do C2 like in B, then why couldn't he do E2 and F2? They're after all, they're included or extended. Although actually, no. Because this arrow, what does this arrow mean? It's both pointing outward. I have a question for you. What can G2 do? You see. Well, he can just do E2. But this, which is extending which?
Two is extending.
Extend.
From A.
Use case B extends A. So. Which way is the arrow pointing? If I'm B extends A from where it's, so this C extends E. So actually, I've asked this question, that would be a great exam question, just to take this exact same question and say, what does G2 do? What can he do? The answer is he can do E2 and C2. Because this one extends this one. But what can A2 do? He can do C2, but he can't do E2. He can do C2, F3, and D2. Because this is an extension of this. But I can do it directly, but I can't do this. Who says I can do this? If I can do this, then I can do what the things that extended. But if I can do just the extension, that doesn't mean I can do the mother. You know, if I can do the child, it doesn't mean I can do the mother. Okay. That's a bit. Yeah, I like this question because it's confusing. No, I like this question because you can ask lots of different questions. You can ask up the A, B. You can ask on all of them what they do, and the one that asked actually the way they wrote it is the simplest possible answer. It has to be A. It has to be D2. There's no other way of thinking about it, even if you don't know anything, even if you know very little. Okay. Marechet CRM he. See what I mean by easy questions? It's just like, definitional question. You know what CRM stands for? Forgot?
Customer relationship.
Very good. Customer relationship model. What does it do? What is the purpose of it? We didn't actually talk about it much in the course. I don't know why this is there. It's not really, it's a kind of program. It's a program to keep track of users, like you want to know what they bought in the past, so that when they come to Amazon again, I can suggest to them to buy more of those things. Well, I see you bought a watch from me, maybe you want to buy another watch from me. You bought, that's a CRM, or I want to send you publicity, so I keep track of your email, all the stuff that I keep track. Customer relationship. I'm trying to maintain a relationship. Marechet lenihul kishrei lekuchot. It's a marechet to keep track of the lekuchot. Marechet lenihul malai. No, I don't. This question is out of place. In my opinion, this question is not on the material, but fine. Next question. Asikunim. There's a sikun. We're going to call it. Wait a second. Yeah, Sheila Shesh. Hasikunim haracha shkuya shel clock. What does that mean? What is clock? Anyone remember what clock is?
1001 zip code.
Very good. So if I made a mistake and I come up with the wrong number of lines of code, Halakuach yishaneh et hadrishot. And the second one is, oh, I have another sikun is that the client will say he doesn't want what he said he wants something else. Although people wrote that, remember, I think you guys wrote that, I didn't like that. Because, I mean, that is a sikun, but, right, okay, it's a sikun, but you have to pay more, I mean, I don't know, there has to be a limit on what he can do, so all of a sudden, every Wednesday, he comes up with all new. You know, they say about Winston Churchill, is a story about Winston Churchill, you know who Winston Churchill is? He was in charge of England during World War II, and right before D-Day, they were planning, like the night before D-Day, or 2 nights before D-Day, he said to his leader of the army, he says, maybe this is a bad idea, maybe everyone's just gonna die, we're gonna, you know, maybe we should, I have another idea, why don't we try doing some other attack in a different way? And he started explaining this other idea. He says, I want, and they're all in shock. And he says, I want you to give me tomorrow morning a list of alternative plans for D-Day. I don't know if you know anything about D-Day, but it was planned for like 2 years. They brought soldiers from America. They planned the whole thing out. They built special boats for the purpose of D-Day. Like the whole thing was. And 2 days before, he said to his generals, "Give me a new plan." So what could they do? They gave him a new plan. So they gave him the next morning a very detailed account of all the different things and all the reasons why it would be a terrible idea not to do D-Day. And then, you know, Churchill looked at it and read through it, and then by the end of it, then the general says to him, and I want you to know that that the prime minister has wasted a tremendous amount of resources of the army because of his, you know, misgiving. You can't just change your mind, is my point. So it's a little bit weird to say Lakuach yishaneh et hadrishot. It's a little bit unacceptable behavior. You can't, I mean, unless we've allowed him, I mean, it's whatever. Anyway, it is a sikun. Hem dugmaot, there are examples of sikunim akshurim lekvutza haba. Which kind of mistake is it? Which kind of risk is it? So the size of the team and its experience, staff size and experience. Hagdarat ta'lid pitua, process definition. This is a tricky one. You might say process definition is related to changing the demands, but that's not, because the process is not the demands. The process is how to do the demands, but not what the demands are. Staff size, it's also not, because I didn't know how many lines. It's not that I don't know the staff size. Business, is it anything to do with like the difficulty of implementing the logic of the program? No. What about product size? Well, yeah, because that is right, because if the lines of code is much more, or the drishot are much more, then the product might be much more. Okay, 7. Is this helpful, or should we not do this? You guys don't seem like you're paying attention. I would have to do it. I can let you go, but we can stop.
This is helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's just for your benefit. I can just say we've done all the material and that's it. You can review on your own. Question number 7. Given part, this is a partial activity diagram. So we have new activity. Oh, it's in French. Recevoir commande video. I don't know what that means. Accept a video command.
Main characters lost.
Actually, if you look in the slides, they're in French. You saw that. That's because there's one teacher who's French.
They are.
No, it's not here. It's stuff.
Is he involved in this?
No. You chat. What do you have for friend?
I went for telecommunications,
For what?
like advanced telecommunications.
Telecommunications.
Yeah.
Help cell phones and things like that.
Yeah.
Flash.
Yeah, is French.
Yeah, but one for the advanced communication.
Oh, no, he was regular communications. He was the first class,
What's
like the intro.
TCP IP?
Yeah.
Oh, it's for the guys.
What did he do in TCP IP? He taught you the protocol or not?
Yeah.
He taught you the protocol. What packets have to go?
Yeah.
What has to be in the packet? He taught you the difference between UDP and TCP.
All that stuff,
What?
all that jazz.
And then you used Wireshark.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, was that a good course? Helpful? Yeah. All right, new activity, so. You get these activities, you receive a video, I don't know what it means, receive a video command, what does that mean, Karen? Receive a video command, what's a video command? A command from the screen, he means, a command from the touch screen? What does it mean, video command? Video,
It's video command.
what does it mean? I couldn't figure out, I thought it was some kind of expression in French, because I couldn't understand it.
Even in French, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't really make sense. What, you have a user command, you don't have a video command. Or maybe a command from the user regarding the video, regarding whether to play the video. Maybe, I don't know, it's a little bit weird. Okay, glad to hear you don't understand. What is correct about this diagram? So let's start at the bottom. The activities, new activity 5 and 6 and 3 at the bottom here. צריכות בהכרח להסתיים להתבצע במקביל. They need to finish at the same time. No, they need to start at the same time. Not to finish at the same time. Okay. מספיק פעילויות, no, מספיק שפעילות אחת מהפעילויות, it's enough that one of the activities, new activity 2 and 4, which are these ones, 2 and 4. It's enough that one of them
No,
would act in order until we will then go on to do receive video command.
no, they all have to be done. During example.
No, that is true. That is true. He also told me that 7 has got mistakes in it. That's also true, because otherwise I would have written a bar here. Otherwise, I've written a bar here. They go in, I mean, they're going in. Once I do that, I do that. It's or, this is an or. So that is correct. And now that I see that, I remember that he told me that 7, that 7 is also a problematic question. They accepted, notice, they accepted on the exam, the students pointed out that that's also correct, and then when they graded it, they accepted 2 answers. We could do that, but it shows that that test was badly written. I hope this doesn't have that. I did go over the test. I didn't think, I think it's pretty good. I think it's correct. The activities, back to the top 3 ones. Need בהכרח להתפסק כולם לפני שעוברים לבצע פעולה. Well, this is stupid, right? Because this are opposite, right? So if one of these has to be correct. We just said it's the second one. So, and then if Shara Chuvot, so what's the problem? Shara Chuvot lo nechonot.
Isn't that the correct answer?
That's what the correct answer, but it's not.
No, it's not the same question. It's not the same activity.
Shara Chuvot lo nechonot. Wait. So sorry, it's not a super question. I'm just saying A is not correct. It's Gimel. What do you mean Shara Chuvot lo nechonot? This is correct. You know, this can't be correct. My point. This is why it's stupid. Because if Shara Chuvot lo nechonot, and you have 2 ones that are opposite each other, then one of them is correct. Unless you want to say it's not clear. Unless the answer is it's not clear, because it says certainly bechrach, and this well, whatever. I've seen this a lot of times in questions. Teachers who don't know how to write an exam, 2 questions are opposite, and then one. And if 2 questions are opposite, then you can ignore all the other questions and answer that, and it's one of those 2 because
Right.
it has to be one of those 2. If they're opposite. A is correct. Let's say I have A is correct, A is not correct, and then I have something else. So it has to be either A is correct or not correct. Or I mean, it's possible that if the teacher is very tricky, which I've never seen them do such a thing, but it could be that it's impossible to know whether A is correct. Not enough information to know that A is correct. But in general, if you see the question, A is correct, A is not correct, then it's got to be one of those. That's just how to do a multiple choice question. Sheila Mispar Shmona. It's possible, like I said, it's possible theoretically that A could be unknown whether it's correct or not. Not, I've seen that, I have seen it on tests where they write, not enough information to answer this question as being the correct answer, or being a possible answer. Natun, so we have it, WBS. What does it stand for? Right, work breakdown structure. Yes. Natun Tashim WBS. Vireshet Puliot. And a network of actions or activities. For some system. If you remember, we saw a diagram like this. What's the purpose of this diagram? All right, I have a question for you. What is Tat Marechet Shalosh subsystem 3? Is it gonna appear in our network here? Without looking? That would also be a good question on the exam, theoretically. Could this, no, the answer is no. We only do leaves. We only do the final leaf nodes. Remember that concept? Only leaf nodes appear here. But now there's something weird about this one, which is that this number means how many units of time, how many days or whatever it is, weeks. How many weeks? This takes 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks. But this one doesn't have a number. It should. See, these ones don't have a number, but that's fine because they have a number, but that's just their number of their subsystem. But they have no timing number. Because their defined timing number is here. So here we see decode. Okay, fine. These 3 things can be done in parallel. You understand? This is what it's saying is all these things that are 1 over here can be done in parallel. All these are 2, parallel 3. But this one, integration, releasing. This is finished, by the way, it goes from right to left. Because it says begin. So this is the order, fine. According to this Tarshim, according to this diagram. Okay, this is also a weird question. He gave you all this and I started analyzing it, but the question is not anything to do with this. They're just saying if this is the program, what model of development is it? This is a funny question. Fine, it's a good question. It's a good question, it's just funny because he made you think about this stuff and it's nothing to do with this stuff. All you have to do is just look here. It starts collecting the requirements, analyzing the requirements, defining 3 levels of 3 subsystems of the system. And here they are, and each one has its design, its programming, and its check. Design, programming, check, design, programming, check. Then integration, then releasing of the version, and installing and finishing. So which is it? Is it iterative? Prototyping? Waterfall? Or incremental?
They choose the WBS,
What?
they choose to be WBS.
I don't understand. It really doesn't matter that we saw WBS. Oh, I don't think, unless WBS is only associated with one, no, WBS is independent.
So the point of the model.
The point of the model is really just, I think I'm just looking at the words here. Let's see, you think it's related to WBS? I don't think so. Maybe. Wait, where were we? Here. Here's WBS. No, this is just show, this is just. No, this is not connected with any, it doesn't mention, this is not connected with anything. Yeah, this is not connected with anything. Where do we talk about, did we talk about it here? Not sure what we talked about. Where did we talk about this additive, this incremental? I think it was way back. It's not here. It's way back. Let's see if I can find it quickly. Yeah. See incremental? Here we have throwaway prototype and evolutionary prototype. Waterfall V. Do you remember this? Do you remember this picture? Where you do, what it means is that you do at the requirement gathering, you do acceptance testing at the same time. You develop. I think you don't actually test it, you can't test it, but you define the test, you define the tests that you're gonna need to do that will fulfill the requirements. System analysis, you do this, you define the system testing. Okay, that's waterfall. This is trial and error. Build and repair. Let's skip build and repair. Here's throwaway prototype. Evolutionary prototype. A prototype model that evolves more and more step by step until it eventually becomes a working system, right? You build a prototype and then you keep improving it, and then the prototype is actually the system. But at first you just built you built it as a prototype. It's not throwaway prototype. Then incremental. You divide the system into parts, and each time another part is added, for example, in other words, the financial system of the enterprise. There's subsystems that are accounting, budgeting, clients. So you figure out what the subsystems are, and you add it as you go. So here's this picture that you first have some kind of fuzzy idea of what you want, and then you do the first part, and then the second part, and then you add the third part. That's incremental. Iterative is you do the whole system and you add to it more and more. In other words, in the beginning, so here, iterative means you work iteratively on the whole system. First, you do an outline on the whole system. Then you fill in some colors of the whole system. And then you finalize this. Here, incrementally, you do one part, it's finished, you release it, another part. So again, this question is a little bit difficult to answer because it does have subsystems. This is a subsystem, right? You call it the key idea is that you have subsystems, and these are subsystems. But it looks like they're worked on in parallel here. Not incrementally. But yet he wants the answer to be incremental. Tosafti is incremental.
But the incremental aren't the subsystems worked on like one at a time.
Exactly, that's what I'm pointing out. A little bit.
Is it possible they have a problem with equity?
Is it possible what?
There's a problem with like most question.
Is it a problem that there's a problem with both questions?
Is it possible that there's problem, like,
Well, let's hope that your exam will be better.
yeah,
What can I tell you?
do they let you, like, explain your answer? On, let's say, the answer sheet?
It's the well. It's a multiple choice and it's gonna be more about, it's just gonna be filling in zeros and ones. You could write something. You could also complain. Listen, any error you make, I will decide. So
Because.
if you can prove to me that the question is impossible to answer, like this one is kind of impossible to answer because. Where were we? Because yeah, why is this incremental? It's not really incremental. I'm doing all this stuff, and unless you're assuming that there's a whole nother, it says releasing of a version. But is there gonna be another releasing of a version? Here it says release version, and then it says end. Is that the whole project, or is there another version? And there's another, maybe this is just one version, and then we're gonna keep doing, so then it's incremental, then it is incremental. It's not clear.
Okay, so let's say we should write our explanations on the, like, multiple choice sheet, like, where should we write our explanations to get to doing it?
No, write them on the questionnaire.
We get that questionnaire,
You take it home with you?
I'm pretty sure with multiple
Ah.
choice.
So then, but you have a Choveret, right in the Choveret. I think you have a Choveret. I think I've seen that oh no, on the bottom of they do scan, maybe the bottom, when I do see something sometimes when I get an error on a Morbal, and there's like a second blank page or something.
Okay.
There might be like a blank page on the bottom, yeah, maybe you can write it on the question.
If you're the one getting it, then.
No, but that would be in the time of checking. I'm not gonna look at it at all. It's gonna go to a computer, the computer's gonna grade it, you can either write the grade, I'm gonna type in the grade into the computer and so. Now,
So we can't even submit an error,
you could do an error.
right?
You can say afterward, you could write to be a long discussion of why this question, you answered it the way you did because blah, 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 and then I can decide if that answer, if you're right. So you have a recourse. But don't, yeah. But if you had a question like this during the test, and you asked me during the test, if I came around, which I might not, because I have another group, usually we divide it by school, so you might get like. The truth is, I probably will come to Cal, because they're in Hebrew, I want the Hebrew question to do my whole way. But if you would ask me a question during the exam, like, it's impossible to know, how could I know? Because it could be this and it could be that, which one is it? I can't say anything during the exam, right?
Right.
So there's no point in asking there. There's no point in asking. I can't say. What can I say? Oh, you're right. This question is unclear. Anyway, I'm always critical. I have this problem, which is when I look at other people's tests that I didn't write, I get annoyed. But when I write them myself, I like them. I imagine I shouldn't do that. I should be more defending of this question.
But this is just not fair.
Yeah, it's not so clear. It's why, what is it? Is it Mapala Mayim? It could be. It could be. It could be Mapala Mayim. Is it Avtipus? No, it's not Avtipus. Why is it not Avtipus? Because it doesn't say anywhere here that I built a prototype. Is it iterative? Well, it doesn't say that there's any iterations here. You know why? You know what I think here? I think what I'd say is like this. Yeah, now I understand. I'm gonna start to defend the question a little bit more. If I think about somebody to think about it more, I look at the question as a first thought, I think it makes sense. I think a bit more. Look what he did here. This is gonna take how long? Maybe it does make sense that he put it in WBS. This is gonna take how long? 3 days or 3 weeks. This is gonna take 6 weeks, this is gonna take 9 weeks. But in either case, I'm not gonna start doing it, I mean, Integratsia really is not gonna happen until I've finished the 9 weeks. So essentially, I do have separate compartments that are gonna finish at different times. Right, I start them all at the same time, but this module will finish after 3 weeks, this will after 3 weeks later where this one finished, and 3 weeks later this one will finish. So I did divide the system into different modules, and I did plan them to finish at different times. And incrementally, the system will get built. So it is, makes sense,
Oh,
it's incremental.
so it doesn't have to do with releases, you don't release after each.
No, for sure not, in none of these. In none of these, look. Leonardo da Vinci didn't show his picture till the end, in any of these. No, there's a bit, I can't release this,
Okay, I totally assumed it was releases here, sorry.
you assume that this is a release.
I was like,
I also
okay,
did.
meaning, like, for
Well, let's
example,
let's look at the definition, let's see what it says. Incremental,
Yeah, but it says like it's released, but it's not full, but.
we divide the system into parts and each time another part is added. Doesn't say that we release it, you're thinking of agile, in agile we release it, but here it just says, we just add parts of the system as we go. Doesn't say that each release is, each module is functional.
mhm,
The division into parts is known in advance, well, we have that. The idea is to divide the system into its parts so that every part can be released, oh no. I'm wrong, can be released to the customer. And every subsequent part can be released as it becomes available. So you're right, I take it back. So then. In that case, where were we? In that case, this is really wrong, because. It says the release is, here is the release after all of it, so it's certainly not incremental,
But that's the answer.
that's the answer, so I would accept it, if you would go to the slide and show me. That it says like this, and that this contradicts, then I would say, you're right, and I would give you the credit for that
You
question.
have a limited amount of words with the appeal. Aren't you,
I've seen very long appeals, I don't know if it
Yeah.
might be a limit, but I've seen very long appeals.
like for, not for a substantial one.
What?
Like if you do a substantial one, I think you have a certain amount of substantial ones, your entire degree, and then if you do like a technical one, which is a technical one.
For this type of.
Oh, you get a limited amount of time you can do in your work, it's just for free, I think. You can always pay.
Yeah, okay.
You have 5 free and then pay for the cheaper.
Okay, here, let's hurry up here, This is confusing. Natuna Rishet Puliot, right, do we don't have crosses, I never saw cross kind of is weird, but. What does this cross mean? Okay, given. This WBS thing. And it has the times in it. And it's, each one is a shavua, is a week. And it's written how long it is. What is when will the project be finished at the earliest? Start, end.
What do you think this is?
10. I don't know what these crosses mean, what does it mean, when do I don't know what that means, after I did 4. I'm gonna start both of these, I guess the team that's working on this can go here. I don't know, it's very strange. Let's say. I don't know, this is, I never saw anything like that, doesn't make sense to me. 10, well, the answer is 32, why? We gotta get this one done, let's say we go like this, 10, 3. 12, that's 13 and 12 is 25. 31. So not like that. Beats me. I don't know. Why is it 30?
17 plus.
so like, for example, T3 can't start until 4 is done, T4.
What does it mean when two things come to one?
I think we
I-
said that it can only start once they're both done, like,
Once they're both done.
yeah.
So this one, okay, so then that makes sense, 4. So then we go 10, 4, 12. So now it makes, that's 14, 26. 32. Yes, we said that, I kind of remember that, yeah.
Can you explain it? We add. the
You know, well, this is how many weeks it takes.
Right.
And. What Layla said is that when you have 2 coming to the same one. It means that we can't, even though these 3 are ready. We can't start it, we need this team. We need the people who are working on 3 and 4 to do 12. So even though this team is ready at 3, we can't start 12 until 4. So that means it's gonna take us 10, and we have to wait for 4 no matter what, and then we can start 12. And we can also, and then we're gonna start 5 after also, when 5 is finished. So there's a maslul like this, there's a path like this, 10, 5, 5, that's 20, and then and then 6, that'd be 26. But that would be but that's not taking into account that we got this big 12 over here that's slowing us down. So we can't, that's not the right path. The right path is 10, 4, 12. Why 4? Why not 3? Because we can't start 12 until it gets both of its inputs. And its input is 4 here, so it can't start until time 4, until 4 finished. So it's gonna take 10 plus 4 is 14 plus 12 is 26. Now we're 26 weeks, and now we finally, this guy's been waiting for us. He was ready at 20 weeks. 10 and 5 and 5, he was ready at 20 weeks, but he's gotta wait for 26 to finish. And at 26 weeks, we can finally start T7.
Yeah, but when can you start T5?
T5, we started after 15. We can't start it after 14.
So what's the question, like, what's
The question is, how long will the whole project take at the minimum? The minimum,
T5's time is included in T3.
what?
T5's time is included in T3. So we don't have
T5's
that.
time is 5. What's the question?
Like it's included in the time.
Mhm.
Of
Like by the
what?
time you do T3, T5 is already done, so that's why you don't.
Yeah, these work in parallel. No, these are working in, this one is starting at time 4. And for time 14, right? That'd be another good question, is what time does this one start? Starts at time 14. Doesn't start at 13. When does this one start? At time 15. So this one started 1 week earlier, but it finished many weeks later. Because it's a long project. And then, fine, so it's 32.
So what would the reason be that we don't count the time for T5? Is it because it's gonna be
Because in
finished
parallel,
before?
because we have different teams working on it in parallel. We have 20 workers over here and 15 workers over here.
Right.
So they're working parallel. So that's what it means that we say it like this. When we say like this, it means they're not in parallel. They can't be in parallel. Why don't you say that T7 and T8 work at the same time? Because by definition, T8 can't start until T7 finishes. It needs, maybe it's because of the workers or maybe because of the system, really probably because of the system. The system, it needs to use certain features of the system that haven't been built yet. So we can't even start working on it. Something like that. It's usually, you gotta think of the case of a farmer. It makes more sense there. The farmer can't harvest before he plants, right? He's got to first plow and then put in the seeds and then water and then harvest. There's an order. You can't do it any other way. In programming, theoretically, you could do it all at the same time. Even, if this is if T8 is some programs, to start writing and assume that T7 has been finished. And you know what I mean? And assume you have those inputs and just work with it. Okay. How many more questions? Oh, good, not too much. So. Okay, now we have a list of requirements for a Marechet Lenihul Cheshbonot Bank. Marechet to manage bank accounts. And we have this sentence. Only for an authorized signatory, now there's a person who can sign. Is he allowed to? There's only a certain group of people who are called signatories, whatever. They can approve of a bank transfer of more than 20,000 shekels. Okay, you have to be a certain. What kind of drisha is this? So is it a drisha bitzua, execution, how to execute it? Is it a limitation on your implementation. Is it of quality? Is it a quality requirement? That talks about internal quality of the program? Or is it a quality that talks about the external quality? Remember, we talked about that. There's internal quality and external quality. External quality means that the user feels that it's a quality system. And internal quality means that we as programmers feel it's quality in the sense that we can, it's easy for us to change the database or easiest to modify it in any way we want. That would be internal quality. Or security. Security is usually considered internal quality because the user doesn't know that he couldn't have broke it in. You know, he types the password, he gets it. He doesn't know that we're not actually checking the password. So it's an internal quality. The security is something that we care about. We want our system to be secure. I mean, he wants to be secure too, but he doesn't feel it. Anyway, so he calls this a drisha misud ma'afian echut. This is chitzoni. Why is this echut? Well, it's certainly not ilutz bitzua. It's not how I'm going to execute the program. It's not like telling me you got to write it in. You've got to finish it in a certain time, or the program has to run at a certain speed. It's not a way of defining. It's a business. It's really what's we call a business requirement, right? It's a business requirement. But by the way, on tests in general, when you see two questions that are like this again, it's like a hint that that's one of those is the right answer. Usually, even though it shouldn't be that way, in reality, it usually is a hint. When you see, you know, something in left field, something in right field, and then two things in center field, probably one of the two in the center field. That's just the way that people who see. I was taught how to pass multiple choice questions, right? You're probably all taught like what to look for first, figure out ones that can't be and not go off, and so because I was taught that, I write tests designed to foil those things that I was taught, because that's what I think. I think like, well, you can't just give it to them. But most people don't. I didn't write the test, so fine. My shita on writing whatever. My shita on writing tests is I do A and B, no A and not A, and then B and not B. So you first have to decide, is it A or not A? It could be, or it could be B and not B. So the two I make it into two groups, so you can't know which one. First of all, you have to decide that it's binary, and then you have to decide within that. Okay, so we're saying that's the best answer. It's chitzoni, because the programmer doesn't care about this. This is like the worker, the users care about this. It's not really technically listed as echut. Do you remember when we talked about it's one of the early lectures also? Echut pnimi versus echut chitzoni. Internal quality versus external quality. There's a couple slides on it. We give examples of them. Okay. Here's another diagram. Here are swim lanes with an activity diagram. Process payments, okay, nice, all this stuff. Final, control flow. I don't know why we have these red markers. It probably was, you found this on the internet and it had these things on it anyway. Okay. How many decision nodes are there? And how many merge nodes are there? Okay. What is this?
Decision.
Pay with card, pay with cash. That's a decision. This is a merge. So 1 and 1. So far up to 1 and 1. And now we say this is a decision. So 2 decisions and 2 merges. Looks to me 2 and 2. Agreed? This is a merge. By the way, it's very easy because there's no writing on it. When there's writing on it, it's a decision node. So it should be 2 and 2, 2 and 2. Okay, easy question. Yeah, your test is much more straightforward than this one, I think. Your
Do
test.
you see this?
I saw the test.
Oh,
I saw the test. I gave my feedback on the test and. In fact, there's one question on the test that they didn't accept my feedback. Even though I'm right.
Well,
But I'll change it in the English, I'll translate it the way I want. And nobody will know it better. That's what I used to do, I mean, whatever, I used to just write my own test. Anyway, it's funny, you know, the Rochemont Clerk always says to me, it's much easier if you just translate than to write a test. I say, no, not really. If I write a test, I can do it the way I want. If I translate it, I have to figure out what he meant. And I have to decide, and then I have to deal with the crappy test, and then I gotta tell them to fix this and fix that. Okay, Pitua Maret, so this is the last question. When we are developing a system, we are developing a certain system. And we think about scalability. We want scalability, that's our emphasis. We want to make the system expanded. And to deal with a large number of clients. And additional services. That we will add later, that's not scalable, that's kind of scalability, fine, that's like expandability. We're using the term a little bit in two different ways. You see the difference between scalability and expandability? Scalability, really what it means is, you know, this is a good machine for making donuts on a small scale. I can make donuts, I put flour and everything, and this will make, 100 donuts an hour. But if I wanted to supply donuts to the United States Army, this machine is not enough. And I can't just like, put more flour in and now it'll produce, I need that, it's not, maybe it's, I have to buy more machines, it's not really scalable, I have to just duplicate it. As opposed to a scalable machine might have like a speed lever on it. Where if I want to get it to go faster, I can change it so that it's scalable. Well, I don't know if that's the best example. The point is scalable means I want to do the same thing in a bigger scale, on a larger scale. I want to do the same thing, but just do more of it. Is the system, if I add more resources, can I get this? Maybe the donut is scalable, because I can just buy more donut machines and now I can do it. But now I'm stuck with those donut machines. It's not adjustable. Anyway, so we want it to be scalable. Which of the following architectures is the most suitable for us? So you could do scalable in all of these things, and all of them are actually client server, right? Three layer can be client server can be client, they're all client server. What is SOA? That's the right answer. SOA, service oriented architecture. So in this year they didn't teach microservices. This year we did, I mean, the year of this test they didn't teach microservices. This year we did teach. Microservices in particular is good for scalability. Service, because we can add more services. Service-oriented architecture. I guess it's scalable. What does service-oriented architecture mean? It means that we divide our server into large scale services, not small scale services. What does it mean a large scale service? Like a large scale service would be handle everything to do with credit card billing. All the credit card functionality is on one machine, is one server. And all the things that deal with user, the CRM, all dealing with user interface is a different aspect. They're all in different servers, and we can swap one out and use a different system of CRM next time. We have services. They're saying that's more service oriented. That's more scalable. Why? Because we could have two servers that do. We can have 3 servers that do the CRM part, or 3 servers that do the credit card billing. We can expand, but that's also true of client server. Client server is also scalable. I can just have more servers. And I can have a load balancer. This is also unfair, unclear question, in my opinion.
And in our exam, we have also a lot of unclear question,
We have what?
a lot of unclear question, because in this exam it was.
I hope not, I don't think so, I think, I looked at the questions, they seem good to me. They see, I didn't, I don't remember them now, I think they're good. Alright, well, let's stop here, take a break, we have, and then you could show me your homework. Um, you stop recording.